Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, it's simple, and I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show and on my open mics, I take live questions from the audience, but we don't always have time to get through all the live questions that get sent in. But I want to make sure those questions get answered, so I gather up the ones we didn't have time for, and I bring them over here, and we address them on the companion videos. So, we've got a lot to get through today, okay? Warning you, buckle in. We got a long episode here today. Got a lot of questions to get caught up on. Going to try my best to get caught up on all of them. So let's get things rolling with this. First up is Mike Zambrano, who writes in, Venom was pretty good. Movie is better than Justice League. I don't know. Like, look, I know Justice League has a lot of detractors. A lot of people do not like Justice League, and that's fine. I am unapologetic about the fact that I like the film. Was it very messy in some points? Yes. Was the villain ridiculous not only in his actions but also in his appearance? Yes. Did they do a number of things wrong in the film? Yes. But I also thought there were some great highlight moments that carried me through the film. Venom is another film. In both of these films, Venom and Justice League are ones that have problems, but then I thought the upsides of them outweighed the negatives. Venom, of course, with a bad villain and what I thought was a very weak first act that I think lost a lot of people. But overall, I still enjoyed it a lot. So I don't know. You know, if I was hard pressed and I had to give an answer on that right now, I'm not sure how I would go. Whether I preferred, Justice League or Venom more. I'm not sure I would say Venom that quickly, though. I'd have to think about it. All right. Murray Reich writes, what does he write? He writes, and the second end credit scenes were very good, especially the second one that was unexpected. The theater I was in were laughing and enjoying the Venom thing. Well, I'm not going to talk about what the first end credit scene was, but the second end credit scene, I don't think it's a spoiler because it has nothing to do with the movie. The second end credit is really just a promotion of marketing for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and they show like a 4-minute clip at the end of it. It says, meanwhile, in a different universe, and it shows that, and I thought that was really clever. I know a lot of people like the first mid-credit scene, and for those of you who still haven't seen Venom, I won't give it away, but I'll be honest with you, even though I like Venom as much or more than most people, I wasn't a big fan of the mid-credit scene, to be honest with you. And I've given my various reasons why at different times. Let's see here. Next up, Ernie S. Eli. AMC employee couldn't tell me IMAX versus Dolby. Well, I mean, really, an AMC employee can't answer that question. They can't. You know, I get asked all the time, what do you prefer, IMAX versus Dolby? Which is better? IMAX versus Dolby, which is better? And I can give my opinion. I prefer the Dolby cinemas at AMC. I prefer the AMC Prime Dolby cinemas. I've always said that. But an AMC employee that in a company that works with both IMAX and Dolby, they should not answer that question. They shouldn't answer that question because they have business relationships with both. An official AMC employee should not answer that question. And if I was still working for AMC, I wouldn't be able to answer that question. But I don't work for AMC, so I can tell you I prefer Dolby. Murray Reich writes, after the film, me and my friends started making Venom impersonation, and the people started looking at us like we were nuts. I'm not going to lie to you, Murray, and I like you, but if I was standing around in McDonald's in line to get some McNuggets for Ann, my wife lives and dies by chicken McNuggets. Go figure. And I was picking up some chicken McNuggets for Ann, and I heard a couple of dudes standing in front of me, both talking in Venom impersonation voice. At some point, I would go, excuse me, gentlemen, I was wondering if you'd be so kind as to shut the fuck up, because that's really annoying. It's probably what I would have said. So don't be surprised, Murray, if you're getting some strange looks from people, dude. Let's see. Derek Woodron writes, congrats on your new adventure. Loving everything you do since the broom closet days. I guess your mother-in-law can finally think you have a traditional job now. Yeah, for those of you who haven't followed me for very long, it is an ongoing gag, but that is sadly true. That my mother-in-law, Ann's mom, Ann and Ray's mom, who is wonderful to me, just still doesn't quite wrap her head around what it is I do. And there is very much a part of her that thinks I'm unemployed. I remember when Ann and I get married, I was already working for AMC. I was doing the AMC thing when Ann and I got married. And I remember, because I just make videos from home. I don't go to an office. I don't, at the time, I didn't go to an office or anything. And I remember on the day we got married, Ann's mom came up to me after the ceremony, gave me a big hug, and said in her, semi-broken English, she speaks English fine, but it's broken English, and said to me in broken English, so you, because now I was now married to an American, because I'm a Canadian, right? And she didn't quite understand the scenario. She goes, so you can get job now? And I'm just like, I didn't even fight. I said, yeah, Mom, it means I can get a job now. And it has just been an ongoing kind of joke. Maybe this will do it. Maybe this will do it. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see here. In Poor Taste Humor writes, have you heard the MoviePass about the MoviePass and their investor? Yeah, so there's this big thing going on, and I've just gotten tired of talking about MoviePass, but long and short of it is this. There was some investors with MoviePass that are filing legal complaints against MoviePass saying, look, you got us to invest in your company by giving us misleading information and giving us erroneous information about, the market and all that kind of stuff. And you basically conned us into investing in you. And now, I believe it's New York, I could be wrong, but one of the district attorney's office in New York is launching an investigation into MoviePass for misleading their own investors. I have told you guys not from day one, because I was on board with MoviePass for a while, but I've been telling you guys for a long time. I believe MoviePass is a shady, shady company. The way they've conducted business, I believe, has been completely shady, and it looks like it's starting to catch up with them. Bryce Bradford writes, really want just a one-shot episode of War Machine dropping the tank at the General's Palace. Call it boom. You looking for this? That was a great moment. I loved that moment, actually. It's one of the more... You know what? Avengers Age of Ultron gets a lot of crap. And I remember, it might have been 2 or 3 months ago, if you guys remember, a couple months ago, I was home and Age of Ultron came out and I watched it for a bit. And I remember, I've always known I've liked Age of Ultron, but I forgot how good it is. There are great moments in that movie. And one of the underappreciated moments is Rhodey telling that story and getting no response from his Avengers, but then telling the same story to a group of other people and everybody loses their mind. It's a great scene. I love it. Tortimir the Gray Gaming writes, in talking of the week of death coming up in December, that's the week from December 14th to December 21st. It's a Killer's Row of movies coming out. You regularly call out Mortal Engines as one of the main competitors. Am I the only one that smells flop on this from the start? I do not smell flop. But I mean, again, it all depends on what your definition of flop is, right? A movie can make $400 million at the box office, and some people will call it a flop. Now, if it costs $300 million to make, then it is a flop. But, it really all depends on what your expectations are. I believe Mortal Engines will make around $400 million. Clearly not opening weekend. But look, even if it is, this is the point. Even if Mortal Engines does end up being a financial disappointment, it's still going to make some money, which just adds to the problem of that, death row of December 14th to December 21st. With all those movies, like Mortal Engines, being produced by Peter Jackson, based on a very popular novel series. You've got, fortunately for them, Alita Battle Angel had the smarts to move release dates, so they're going to benefit from that move. But you got this Deadpool movie, you've got Bumblebee, you've got Holmes and Watson, which the trailer looks terrible to me, but that's going to make some money. You got Aquaman, you got Mary Poppins, you got Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, all opening in that 7 to 8 day window. It's nuts. The point is, even if Immortal Engines isn't a hit film, it's a significant player. Even if it financially disappoints, it's a significant player, and it's going to take away another chunk of that available box office money. There's only going to be so much money available to be made in that 8 day window. And every new movie that's in there, maybe it'll make a lot, maybe it'll make a little, but it's still just chipping away at how much of that pie is left over for other movies to come up and use. So, I don't think Mortal Engines is going to flop, but it may or may not be a big hit. But either way, it's going to eat away at what money is available that week, and it's going to hurt the other films as well. It's going to be, I'm fascinated for this week to get here because I want to see what happens with it. Tristan Larson writes, Venom is the weirdest movie I've seen in months. I don't know that I'd call Venom a weird movie. Venom intrinsically is kind of a little bit of a weird character, granted that, but I don't know that I have, walking out, there's a lot of different ways I would describe Venom. I don't know if a weird movie was one of them. I mean, unless you're talking about weird in the sense that, man, they did a bunch of things wrong, but I still had fun with it. That's weird. Like, if that's the case, then I'm with you. Other than that, I've never really thought of it as being that weird of a movie when I think about it. Bryce Bradford writes, shout out to my twin brother Brian and his girlfriend Ray out in New York City. I'm sure they appreciate that, Bryce. Thanks for sending that in. ZOMG Ruler writes, Venom's audience score is 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. Who cares? That's completely irrelevant. Means nothing. I've told you guys forever, audience scores on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes are completely meaningless. Tens of thousands of people can vote without ever having seen the movie, then create fake accounts, blah, blah, blah. Ignore them. The only audience score that has any meaning whatsoever is CinemaScore, because CinemaScore is the only one that actually sets up shop in front of the movie theater and talks to verified people who have actually seen the movie coming out, and they get their impressions then. That's the only one that's viable. Ignore anything. Let's not even talk about Rotten Tomatoes audience scores anymore, because they don't mean anything. They don't mean a thing. So don't worry about that, man. Curtis Lopez writes, a 5-minute sneak peek of Aquaman was just released. Yeah, so they put out, of course, this was going back a week or so. Aquaman put out what I think they were calling an extended trailer, like a 5-minute extended trailer. And while I liked it a lot, it made me, I just don't want Hollywood to get in the habit of making trailers longer and longer and longer and longer. And I just don't want 5-minute trailers to start becoming the norm. We're living in an age right now where a lot of movie fans are asking for studios to show us less, and yet we're asking them to show us more at the same time. And studios are going to the audience, make up your minds. What do you want? Do you want us to show you less, or do you want 5-minute trailers? You can't say yes to both, because it doesn't work that way. Anyway, it is a weird thing, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, to be honest. Michael Jones writes, hey, John, saw Venom last night. Thought it was pretty good. Mid-credit scene I thought was underwhelming. Also, I'm in season 6 of The Office. Just saw the episode Scott's Tots. That is the best/worst episode of Office ever. By best, I mean it's the best. By worst, I mean it is the most uncomfortable episode to watch ever. The basic premise of Scott's Tots is, a number of years ago, Michael Scott, played by Steve Carell, was doing a career day or something at a school, for grade 3 or grade 4 kids. I can't remember what it was, what age they were. Maybe it was like grade 7, grade 8. I'm not sure. I can't remember. And he was so overwhelmed by these kids and loved these kids so much, he declared, if you guys graduate high school, I'm going to pay for all of your tuition to college. Yay! And they became known, it got hit the news, and it became known as Scott Tots. Well, now it's years later, and those kids are about to all graduate. That class is now about to graduate high school. And they all think they're going to get their all college tuition paid for by Michael Scott, and Michael Scott's going to go to that school and break the news to them that he can't afford to do that. It is the funniest, most uncomfortable. It is an episode that completely embodies what The Office was. It's the best. If you guys have never seen Scott's Tots, get on Hulu or Netflix, find that episode, and enjoy and cringe all at the same time. It's awesome. Bob Smith writes, thoughts on As Good As It Gets, favorite movie ending. I love that movie. Love that movie. Not just Jack, but Greg Kinnear was amazing in it. I mean, look, the whole cast is incredible in it. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's moving and hilarious and all that kind of stuff. And I this is horrible that I think this line, but it's got one of those lines. Sometimes I talk about the 10 funniest moments ever in film history. And I'll often talk about my number one. No moment in movies has ever made me laugh as hard as Spaceballs, when Dark Helmet says to Lone Star, now Lone Star, you will see that evil will always triumph because good is dumb. I've never laughed harder in the movies ever. That's my number one. But on that top 10 list of funniest single moments ever, and it's horrible that I find this so freaking hilarious, but it was when Jack, who was a novelist in the movie, Jack Nicholson is a novelist in the movie, and this young secretary woman is like so just in awe of him because he's a great novelist, right? But he's also, he's neurotic at the same time. But she runs up to him and she goes, how do you write women so well? And Jack's response is one of the great all-time lines. He goes, I think of a man and then I remove reason and accountability. And that's so wrong. So wrong. But men, women, children, all laugh when that line is said. And the girl who plays the secretary, her reaction was perfect. And Jack, as the neurotic character, played it perfectly. It's very, very few moments in films have ever made me laugh that hard. But Kinnear is so good in that movie. Let's see. Rushil P writes, I started enjoying Venom after Eddie and Venom came in contact. It was freaking hilarious, and to my surprise, people clapped when the movie ended. Yeah, look, my exact same thing. I thought the movie was pretty underwhelming and pretty unimpressive until Eddie and Venom got together. That's when the movie kicked into gear for me. And it should have got there a little bit sooner in the film, to be honest with you. But yeah, I wrote this on my Twitter too, Rachel, is that what I was really surprised by was that in both screenings that I saw Venom, the audience gave a very enthusiastic applause at the end of both screenings that I saw it in. Now, that doesn't mean every theater is going to be like that. No, not at all. Maybe there are theaters you were in where everybody hated the movie. That's, yeah, fine. All I'm saying is that I was in 2 screenings of it, and both screenings, enthusiastic applause at the end. So, yeah, there's that. Jazz Green writes, hey, John, I've been a fan of yours since the AMC days, and not to beat a dead horse, but do you think there is going to be a financial blowback when Guardians Volume 3 opens after the firing of James Gunn? I honestly don't. Well, look, will there be some? Sure, yes, some. But minor. Look, the fact of the matter is that you and I watch movie shows, we follow the movie news, we stay plugged in like really intricately to all this. The vast majority of the average movie-going audience doesn't. And so I just think most of them don't even know about the James Gunn drama. And even if they do, probably not too many of them care all that much, one way or the other. So while I believe there will be some effect, will it be significant effect? I don't think so. So probably not. Probably not. That's my guess at any rate. Let's see. David Rivas writes, my last name is pronounced Rivas. Okay, Rivas. There we go. Question, do you think Mary Poppins Returns could suffer from the filmmakers relying too much on nostalgia? I don't know about that. Look, nostalgia is just like anything else. It's a tool. It all depends on how you use it. If you use it great and it feels organic and natural to the movie, you can use all the nostalgia that you want. If the nostalgia elements are trying to feel like they're being forced into it just for the sake of it, like the new Ghostbusters. Look, I know it's all cool. Everybody thinks they're cool by bashing on the new Ghostbusters with the all-female cast. I actually thought it was okay. I did. I thought there was some really good laughs in it. But the movie ain't great. But the thing that bothered me the most about that movie was their use of nostalgia. Because none of the nostalgia stuff ever felt organic and natural. It always felt like, look everybody, something from the original movies. It was like so disruptive and like thrown in your face. Look everybody, it's Bill Murray. Look everybody, it's that saying from the old movie. Look everybody, it's that statue from the old movie. It was so non-organic and forced that it became jarring every time they did it and completely pulled me out of the movie. I might have really liked Ghostbusters had it not been for that huge glaring problem. And it runs throughout the whole film, even to the end credits. Even to the end credits, they do it. And I just can't help but wonder how much would I have liked this movie if it wasn't for that, because it was so distracting and so bad. But just because they handled nostalgia that way doesn't mean that you can't do that amount of nostalgia if you've written it in such a way that it's very natural and flows and is organic to the story and doesn't feel like it's just being thrown in your face going, look everybody, a nostalgia element. You know what I mean? I trust the filmmakers behind Mary Poppins. I never got a lot of other than the fact that they use the live action and 2D animation hybrid stuff, which just made my heart happy. But it felt natural to the world of Mary Poppins. It didn't feel forced to me. So, no, honestly, I don't think that's going to be an issue. It might be. We might see the movie and they might misuse it. But as of right now, I'm honestly thinking it looks pretty good the way they're handling it. Ben Rayner writes, I think the majority of the dislikes have to do with people who have one certain comic book version of Venom in mind. And it sounds like Venom is exciting and fun. Again, you know what? I'm going to go back. Here's the thing, Ben. I'm going to disagree with you, Ben, because I'm going to go back to what I just talked about with the James Gunn. Will there be a lot of like financial blowback because of the James Gunn situation? Here's the thing. I don't think the dislike some people have given Venom have much to do because certain people have one idea of Venom in their head. Because I think the majority of people really don't know anything about Venom and have certainly never read a comic book with Venom in it. The vast majority of people have never even read a comic book issue that Venom was in. Really. So, no, I don't think so. Look, there are some legitimate things that are problems with Venom. For some people, it'll be enough to make them dislike the movie. For others, not so much. But as somebody who is pretty enthusiastic about the fact that I liked Venom, I will tell you right away, I could see why there are people who don't like this film. And I think the first act alone probably lost a lot of people. And once you lose an audience member, it becomes very difficult to get them back on board, no matter how good acts 2 or 3 are. It becomes very hard to get them back on board. And I think Act 1 lost a lot of people. And I don't think the reason a lot of people dislike it is because it wasn't the Venom. Now, let's not get into the habit of making excuses for why other people didn't like something we like. They just didn't like it because they didn't like it. And let's be fair. There were things there to not like, right? So that's kind of how I see it at any rate, Ben. David Rivas writes, I want the sequel, I'm assuming you're still talking about Mary Poppins. I want the sequel to hit all the right notes. I want them to make it a film that stands on its own, most of all, especially the songs. I'm expecting that. I mean, look, I don't want it to be a completely isolated movie. It is Mary Poppins. I do want it tied in, and I want to feel those ties to the original film. But at the same time, yes, it needs to be a quality movie that stands on its own, apart from the nostalgia factor. I think Disney gets that, and I think you and I are going to be very happy, David. I think we're going to be very happy. I love what they've done with the trailers. They made me feel like they've recaptured that magic. We'll have to wait and see if they actually are able to pull it all off, though. But I think you and I are going to be happy. Let me see if I can get this. Ram Arma 30 writes, $5, the biggest reason Sony partnered with Marvel was because their last few Spider-Man films were not received quality-wise. I disagree. I mean, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, certainly. But let me pull this up. The Amazing Spider-Man, Rotten Tomatoes. The Amazing Spider-Man, which was the 2012, which I liked a lot. I think that first Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, I thought it was great. And him and Emma Stone, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone were both fantastic. And I thought the story was great. I thought the action was heart-pounding. I loved it. And the vast majority of critics liked it too. It's a certified fresh 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. That was the second last one. Now, the one before that was Spider-Man 3. And the one after that was The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is a significant dip. But yeah, now Spider-Man 3 is, look, the biggest reason I believe they went is because remember, there was a period of time, Sony has stabilized, but there was a period of time where not Sony Pictures, but all of Sony, the entire company of Sony, not just their movie division, was in some very big financial peril. And when Sony started as a company as a whole was getting into big financial peril, even people like me who for years said, look, you're never going to see Spider-Man in the MCU, even I started going, when all the news about Sony's financial peril was going on, even I started going, now remember, this is before they made the announcement, going, you know, we could live in a reality now where maybe they are looking at ways to make money without having to risk money. Maybe we could see Spider-Man end up in the MCU, blah, 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 right? Even I was saying that. Me, the guy who for years had said, you're never going to see Spider-Man in the MCU. Circumstances changed when all the news came out about Sony's financial problems. And we knew something different may happen. Now, they've got new leadership now, and they're a much steadier ship today than they were before, but not that they're in great shape, but that had more to do with it than anything else, to be honest. That really did have more to do with it than anything else. Andrew Christie writes, Venom was fun, wasn't expecting a masterpiece, glad it doesn't take itself too seriously. It could have definitely run the risk of trying to be edgy. Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I think you just made a great point. There's still some people that are disappointed it wasn't rated R. To me, that was not a movie that needed to be rated R. Not at all. And I think you just raised a really good point that I think they would have run the risk of coming across as desperate and needy if they forced it to be R. Ooh, look how edgy we are. It could have come across like that Titans trailer. Ooh, look how dark and edgy we are. Robin said, fuck Batman. Ooh, aren't you intrigued now, kiddies? That's what Venom could have run the risk of coming across like. And I think that's a great point. I hadn't really considered it that way, but I think you raise a really good point. Ramar30 writes, Sony has had no grasp of their comic characters since the 2000s. Oh, I disagree. They're not up with the times, and their perception of them, I feel, are outdated. I disagree. Again, I thought 2012's The Amazing Spider-Man was fantastic. I thought The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had very good elements, but overall, just the way they handled Electro was terrible and all that kind of stuff. It just led to a disappointing film and all that kind of stuff. But if you just look at their last number of films that have come out, yeah, I didn't like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I thought The Amazing Spider-Man was great. I thought the way they handled the Peter Parker character and Gwen Stacy was wonderful. I've really enjoyed their take on Venom. I think it was really fun. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think they do have a pretty good grasp on it. But, perfect? No. But even Fox, which has done an amazing job with their X-Men franchise, X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men First Class, Logan, Deadpool, Deadpool 2, even they have had some stinkers. X-Men Origins Logan, X-Men 3, X-Men Apocalypse, they've had some stinkers too. Sony's had some stinkers, but I think overall, I think in general, they've done very well. Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man, Venom, I think overall they've done a very good job. I think there's only 2 poor films they've made with their superhero universe. That's The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. But the other 4, I think they did really great with. That's a pretty good batting average. So, yeah, I don't think they're out of touch, not at all. Hey, that's your opinion. I have mine, and we still get to be film fans together and share our different points of view. That's great. Jacob Silvers writes, 5 minutes of footage for Aquaman is out and it looks awesome. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, the big long trailer, and I did enjoy it quite a bit. Dark Horizon 211 writes, hey, John, thank you so much for saying what you said about Venom. I feel the same way. Critics just seem like they just wanted to bash it, and I agree with you. Everything else you said about it, I disagree, Dark. I think critics didn't like it because they didn't like it. No critic goes into a movie wanting to dislike a movie. That is such a fake myth that people make up to make themselves feel better that critics didn't think the same way they did. It's a fake myth. All right? Critics didn't go into just wanting to bash it. They wanted to go into it and they wanted to enjoy it. Look, if you got to spend 3 hours to go to a movie theater, go to some press screening, sit down for a 2-hour movie, then drive home and have to write something, you hope you're going to enjoy it. The vast majority of film critics want to like a movie, but they're just going to give their honest opinion. I think to say that critics just wanted to bash it, I think saying that ignores the fact that Venom has problems. It does. Venom has problems. Even I, who enjoy the movie, terrible villain. I mean, I liked Riot, but overall, they did not do a good job writing their villain, Drake. They didn't do a good job writing him. And the entire first act was a slow mosh pit that I think lost a lot of people along the way. To say critics just wanted to bash it, that's suggesting nobody who's being honest didn't like Venom. Yes, they did. There are things in Venom to not like. I liked it, but I'm secure enough in my opinion that I can say, I liked it a lot, but I can totally see why other people wouldn't. There are problems in the film. And I think that's one of the things that we as film fans need to become more of. We need to become more secure in our own opinion. Because if you are secure in your own opinion, it doesn't bother you and you don't feel the need to make excuses for other people not feeling the same way you do. You want to find somebody who's really insecure? Find somebody who bashes others for not liking or for disliking movies they like or don't like. That's an insecure person because they're not secure in their own thoughts, their own opinions, their own personhood. It's like, wait a minute, you said you don't like something that I liked? That invalidates me. I'm going to attack what you're saying. And I'm going to make up excuses. No. Look, there's no movies I love more than Star Wars. Somebody comes up to me, I think Star Wars sucks. I go, that sucks, man. I wish you did. I wish you did like it, but you don't. Okay. C'est la vie. It is what it is. I mean, so, no, Dark Horizons, let's not start making up excuses. There are people who saw Venom that didn't like it because there are things to not like. You liked it. I liked it. But there are other people who didn't, and they don't need an excuse to not like it. So let's be careful. I think that's what we as film fans, because I'm guilty of it too. You're guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. All film fans are guilty of it from time to time. I just think we as film fans, I think, you know what, in the toxic film fandom environment that exists out there sometimes, I think it improves by 70% overnight if more film fans just became more secure with their own opinion. In that I don't need you to agree or disagree with me for me to feel good about my own opinion. Because if you feel good about your own opinion and you feel secure in your own opinion, you don't feel the need to attack others for having a different opinion. You don't feel the need to make up excuses for why somebody else doesn't share the same opinion you have. You don't have the need to do that. And I think that's something me, you, all film fans need to do more of. And I think it'll make the film fandom community an even better place than it is. So that's just my thoughts on that. But yes, you and I do like Venom. I'm Upset writes, what's better, Venom or Predator? Oh, that's easy. Venom I enjoyed. Predator was terrible. Predator was awful. I was so disappointed in that. And I'm a huge Shane Black fan. And I'm the guy who's going, I got faith in Predator because Shane Black's directing it. And yay! And it was awful. Just awful. So, yeah, for me, that's an easy question. The answer is Venom, in my opinion. Chris Miner writes, loved the Vice trailer. Speaking of Adam McKay, who's directing Vice, thoughts on The Big Short? Oh, I like The Big Short a lot. The one thing about The Big Short, and first of all, Christian Bale's great in it. Steve Carell was magnificent in it. A lot of great little cameos as well, including a great cameo of Margot Robbie. Just out of nowhere, they cut to Margot Robbie naked in a bathtub to give some facts and figures. It was crazy filmmaking. My one big critique about The Big Short was that it was very didactic in many ways, in the sense that a lot of them was just giving information, and I think they overloaded it a little bit with information. They probably should have cut back a little, focused more on the really important parts, and then found a way to work it in narratively. Not that I disliked all the different scenes they had to just stop and teach information, but I feel like it was a little much, and I think it may have overwhelmed some audience members. But that aside, It's a beautifully conceived, well-executed film that I enjoyed a great. If I'm not mistaken, it was nominated for Best Picture, if I'm not mistaken. And it was well-deserved. So, yeah, I like that film. Dolt for Cash writes, possible Chris Evans doesn't know the fate of Captain, or doesn't know Cap's fate in Avengers 4? No, he was there. He shot the scenes. He knows. No, it is not possible that Chris Evans doesn't know Captain America's fate in Avengers 4. He knows what it is. Santez Henderson writes, the excitement I see from fans all over The Mandalorian is impressive. Maybe this is what Star Wars needs, expansion of the galaxy, new characters away from the saga. Santez, I've been saying that forever, man. One of my big complaints, and I love a lot of the films that have come out with the new Star Wars, but even the films that I've really liked in the new Star Wars stuff, my constant complaint has been Star Wars keeps trying to shrink the galaxy more and more and more, making it a smaller and smaller and smaller place. And here's my analogy. This is how you know if you live in a big town or a small town. If you go out for a walk one day and every single day you bump into people you already know, you live in a small town. If you go out for a walk and maybe bump into somebody once every 3 or 4 days that you know or recognize, then you're probably in a pretty big town. With Star Wars, it just seems like every time we walk out the door into a Star Wars movie, we're constantly bumping into people we already know. Oh, there's Yoda. Oh, there's Han Solo. Oh, there's Boba Fett. Oh, there's this. Oh, there's that. Like every time we step outside the door, we are bumping into tons of people we already know. Hence, it's just been getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. It's time to expand and expand and expand. And I love this idea of this Mandalorian show. I love the time frame they're putting it in. I love that it's a new character. I love that they're doing this kind of stuff. I'm very excited about it. This is what they've been needing to do for a long time. And I'm glad that, Kathleen Kennedy, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, they're all getting on board and making this happen. I love it. I think it's got a lot of potential. So we'll just have to wait and see if they execute it well or not. Dennis Henna writes, saw Venom last night. It was a good time. The Eddie-Venom relationship was great. Venom itself was done right. Eddie in the restaurant, LOL. Yeah, that was a great scene. Want more Eddie-Venom scene again this week? Yeah, I saw it multiple times, Dennis. A lot of people enjoyed it. I've talked a lot about Venom already today. I enjoyed it. I'm glad you did. And yes, I love the restaurant scene. I thought the restaurant scene was off-putting to some people, but to me it worked great. I just loved it. Just Don't Cry Living 16 writes, did you see the New York City Comic-Con Aquaman footage? I don't think I did. Unless, and I don't know what the answer to this question is, unless the footage they showed at New York City Comic-Con was the 5-minute preview they put out, which I don't know if it was or not. If it was not, then I haven't seen it. And I'm okay with that. I'm at the point now that I'm good. I'm just excited for Aquaman. I don't need to see any more. I'm good to go. So we'll have to, so I don't think I've seen it unless that 5-minute preview was one and the same, but I don't think it was. I could be wrong. David Bet Sharhad writes, over under 25%, Marvel will make Tony alcoholic again because of the snap consequences. I'll take the under. They've been there. They've done that. They already explored the Tony Stark alcoholic, struggling with some alcohol abuse issues. They did that with Iron Man 2. So I really don't think they'll go back to it. Look, I'm not going to say the chances are 0, not at all. But a 1 in 4 chance, I think that's a bit high. So I'm going to take the under in that because they've done it already. Let's see. Randy Lando writes, I have endured what no man on earth has endured before. I kiss the hands of the man who killed my son. Name the movie. That's unfair because here's the thing. A lot of people like to throw in movie quotes to see if I can get them. The only reason I know this one was because it was spoken by one of my all-time favorite actors, Peter O'Toole. I'm a huge Peter O'Toole buff. And it's only because I'm a huge Peter O'Toole buff that I recognize that this was a line spoken in Troy. So yes, that's one from Troy spoken by Peter O'Toole. Syrian Douglas writes, B&TB, Beauty and the Beast? Beauty and the Beast trailer is just like Aladdin. I like the posters. Well, it's not just that. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella. I talked about on the John Campea show a week or two ago where I brought up like the 3 posters, the Cinderella poster, the Beauty and the Beast poster, the new Aladdin teaser. There's very much a signature style, a similar signature style that they're doing for all these. And I like it a lot. I think it's great. And yes, there are definitely similarities. And I think that's on purpose and by design. And it's not just Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. You can include Cinderella in that. And I love what they're doing with it. I think it's a great design element. Dakota Barber writes, love Bad Times at the El Royale. Start slow, but the payoff in the third act was worth it. The cast and tension were great. Film will benefit from a second viewing. Still haven't seen it. I've just been so busy with getting the studio up and running, being ready for the first screening shooting the first episode of the John Campea show in the new studio. I just never had time to get out and see it. So I still haven't watched it. I got to try to see it this week. I was dying to see this movie, and I just never, because of the launching of the studio, I just didn't have time to do it. Let's see. Aviator 986 writes, actors getting millions versus athletes getting millions. Oh, definitely. I feel like athletes getting millions is far more justified. They work far harder, and they work far longer. And depending on the sport, like football, they're literally putting their bodies and their health and their lives on the line. Now you can go, well, yeah, but Tom Cruise jumps from a building. Okay, yes, but that's very, 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 very rare. Every time a football player steps on the field, they could get carted off. They could literally get carted off. Their legs could break. They could get massive concussions. They can break their necks. They could become paralyzed. They could lose their life. I mean, so yes, I feel much more comfortable with the notion of an athlete getting $10 million a year than I am of an actor getting, $15 million for 12 weeks work. I just far more now, do I still think professional athletes get paid a little bit too much? Yeah, I probably do. But my personal opinion is I think it's justified more with athletes than it is with actors. Let's see. I'm upset. Thoughts on the Men in Black trilogy? I was never huge on the Men in Black trilogy. I don't love any of them. I think I like all of them, but I've never loved any of them, even the first one. I think the first one, when somebody asked me, do you like or dislike Men in Black? Oh, I like it. I do. But there are some people who just love those films. And look, I'm very curious about the new one coming out with Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth. I'm very curious about that. But yeah, overall, I like the Men in Black trilogy and the Men in Black films, but it's not like I don't talk about them very often because they just honestly don't stand out that much to me. TJ Thomas writes, here we go again. Scarlett Johansson taking acting gigs from hardworking spiders in Hollywood, of course. So Scarlett Johansson, it looks like it's not official yet, but they're making progress on trying to develop a Black Widow movie. They've got a screenwriter on board. They've got a director on board. They've got everything they need. They just haven't greenlit it yet, but it looks like that's coming. Of course, Scarlett Johansson was in this bit of controversy a while ago because she was going to play this transsexual character, and she got bullied out of the role. And now the joke is, well, now she's playing Black Widow. They're taking jobs away from spiders. Look, everybody knows my opinion on this, and there are some people who like my opinion, some people who dislike my opinion. Actors are professional people who play characters they are not. That's what acting is. That's what acting is. It's you as a performer taking on the persona and the identity of somebody and something you are not. The notion that an actor has to be one particular type of thing to play a character that is that one particular type of thing, to me is, I'm just not into it. Anymore, I don't know if you guys saw this ridiculous headline. Did you see it? This ridiculous headline that Fox News put out? Jamie Lee Curtis plays character in Halloween. I can't remember the exact title. It was basically this. Jamie Lee Curtis plays character in Halloween that uses guns, despite the fact that she says she's against guns. It is one of the most idiotic things I had ever seen written in my life. They were basically calling Jamie Lee Curtis a hypocrite for being against guns and yet playing a character that uses guns. And obviously, the moronacy of that, the pure idiocy and dumbness, that's not even a real word. The dumbness of that is unfathomable. So it's like, I asked this guy, because I put up on Twitter, look how idiotic Fox is, and putting that out. And somebody said, well, isn't it hypocritical of her? And I tweeted back, so do you think any actor that played Hitler is actually a Nazi and actually believes in the things that Hitler believed in? That's different. No, it's not. Do you think every actor who had to portray a murderer, do you think they're actually for murder? Oh yeah, well, there's this character in this movie, he's a murderer, so only go out and cast somebody who's a murderer. Oh, you cast that guy? Yeah, but that guy's against murder. We can't have a guy who's against murder playing a murderer. Come on. It's so utterly ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. So, look, to me, nah. Look, there are I'm not going to say that's a 100% rule across the board. There are extreme circumstances where a lot of stuff would make just some common sense. Yes. But I'm saying in general, I don't really care all that much. Look, an actor is a professional who plays something in somebody they are not. That's what acting is. I don't believe somebody has to be an actual football fan to play a character who is a football fan. I don't believe that somebody has to be for guns in order to play a character in a movie that is for guns. I just don't believe that. Are there some exceptions? Are there some extreme circumstances where maybe that would be different? We could look. Absolutely. Absolutely. Could my mind be changed on this? Yep. Yeah, I can. But anyway, that's just kind of my thought. And now everybody hates me for saying that. But hey, as long as you're hating me for what is my actual opinion and not for things I didn't actually say. Jock Cop writes, better depiction of Apollo program. First man from the Earth to the Moon on the HBO series. Well, I can't answer that because I've never seen From the Earth to the Moon series on HBO, so I unfortunately cannot answer that. Wesley Cunningham writes, I enjoyed Venom, but I feel as if the marketing, especially that first teaser trailer, kind of misrepresented the kind of movie we got. I disagree. And I'm somebody who gets triggered a little bit over misleading ads. If you guys watch me for any period of time, you know I get triggered a lot over misleading ads, particularly trailer. I get mad at misleading trailers. I never felt that, Wesley, to be honest with you. I never felt that about Venom. I thought the Venom were pretty good representations of the movie, personally, but you saw it differently. Fair play. I just didn't see it that way myself. Wesley follows up with, should studios worry more about representing the kind of movie they're putting out as honestly as possible, or making as much money as possible opening weekend regardless? Well, look, the whole job of marketing is to get people to come to the movies. I don't believe it's an either or. I believe it's a both and. I believe you can at least not misrepresent, the very nature of the movie you're going to see. Don't misrepresent the very nature of the movie you're going to see. Like, the one I always go back to is this Disney film called The Bridge to Terabithia, which was actually a really good film, but the marketing campaign was completely deceptive. Completely deceptive. They made it look like this whimsical fantasy adventure with children and blah. And it was dark and had tragedy and was harsh. And there were a lot of parents who came out of those theaters really pissed off because they thought they were taking their kids to see one kind of movie and it was a totally different kind of movie. It was a very good movie, but just not the movie they had advertised at all. You can do... I'm not talking about making a bad movie look good. It's every marketer's job to make a bad movie look good. But don't misrepresent the movie as to what is the movie about. Basically. And I thought Venom did that. I thought Venom did that. So I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a both and I think you can do both. Robert Mitchell writes, do you think Deathstroke will be in the new Suicide Squad movie? I think there's a good chance. I know they've been wanting to use Deathstroke. It doesn't look like he's going to be in the Batman movie. I know DC has been very keen on using Deathstroke. Joe Manganiello has been talking a lot about it as well. I think there's a pretty decent chance. I would say 40% chance. 40% chance that Deathstroke is in the new Suicide Squad. So that's still not likely, but it's a solid chance. I'll give it a 40%. Dakota Barber writes, check out Netflix show The Haunting of House Hill. It's about a family haunted by their past. Way's show weaves between past and present is great. Mike Flanagan does a great job and is a solid horror director. You know what? I've been hearing things about that show. I've been hearing it's pretty good. I had no interest in watching it, none. But I am hearing some pretty good things about it, dude. And so I might have to check it out. Look, I still got a lot to get caught up on. I got to get caught up on Mayans. I'm still not caught up on Supernatural. I am caught up on Flash now. I haven't even started watching Daredevil yet. Daredevil season 3's out. I haven't even started watching it yet. I got to get caught up on that. So I got a bunch I got to get to still. But I think at some point I'll try to give that show a shot. C. Hutch 109 writes, hey John, have you seen the Nick Cage new movie Mandy? No, I still haven't seen that. Marie Ciphering writes, better movie, The Right Stuff or Apollo 13? Some people will disagree and it's totally fine because The Right Stuff is great. But I really love Apollo 13. I believe Ron Howard directed that. I love Apollo 13. So this might ruffle some feathers, but I'm going to take Apollo 13 over The Right Stuff. Technovine, fake baby in American Sniper still annoys. Are we still talking about that Technovine? Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, there is a scene in American Sniper with Bradley Cooper where he's holding a baby and he moves the baby from one position to his shoulder and you can clearly see it's a doll. You can clearly see it's a fake baby. Okay, whatever. But man, some people just became obsessed with that. And like they just write off the whole movie because there's this scene where you could see where a baby was fake. Who cares? And by the way, I think they were backed into that position because they had no choice. Because I think, if I remember right, like Clint Eastwood said that they had a baby, a real baby, but the baby got a fever. And so then they had a backup baby, but the backup baby ditched. The family ditched. The baby didn't go, no, I'm not working today. No, the family ditched. So here they were. They're paying thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars every minute. They got the crew, they got the set, they got their cast, everybody's there ready to go, and they've got no baby. What do? Bring in the doll. Bring in the doll. And they could have pulled it off. If it wasn't for that one shot where you could see that it was a doll, they would have been fine. But I don't know. I'm over it by now. Come on, Techno. Get past that one. It's been years now. But yeah, it was unfortunate that it happened. Stubble McShave writes, I spent yesterday afternoon watching interviews of Richard Burton, Peter O'Toole, I love Peter O'Toole, and Richard Harris, love Richard Harris, telling old drinking stories. They partied hard. Dude, if you think movie celebrities like party hard today, everybody in the world now walks around with high-def video cameras and global communication devices in their pockets. You see an actor misbehaving, you know there's going to be video footage, you know there's going to... Forget that. Back in the 60s and 70s, man, I've heard some stories from some old actors about the way they partied back then, and you are right, Stubble. They partied hard. Today's celebrities ain't got nothing on the way those guys did it back then. Brandon Martin writes, credit card stolen, so I missed an A-List payment, and now my membership is canceled. Now I'm blocked from rejoining A-List for 6 months. Oh, you know what? Okay, so... yeah, if you join A-List and then cancel for whatever reason, then you can't just join back up again because they don't want people joining, canceling, just whenever it suits them. And that's understandable. So if you stop your membership for whatever reason, you can't join back up again for 6 months. Understandable. That sounds like a really sucky situation though, Brandon. That was outside of your control. It wasn't your fault. It was outside of your control. I would be willing to bet money, though, you can sign up again with a different card. I would almost be willing to bet money you could sign up with a different card. I might be wrong about that. I might be wrong. But if you had a different credit card, I bet you could sign up for it again. I'm not sure, and that sucks. See what you can do about talking to customer service. See if you can get actually somebody on the phone, explain your situation, and see if it can be remedied. But that's a horrible situation, man. That's terrible. It's probably not something that... A-List or other companies even think about. Well, what happens if a client has their credit card stolen and that's why the thing doesn't go through? And then they probably didn't think about that. I certainly haven't. So that's terrible, man. That sucks that happened to you. I hope you're able to get that straightened out because A-List is awesome. Trip Mac writes, you ever get around to finishing the Spider-Man 4 on PS4? Nope, I never got around. I watched like an hour of it. And again, working 18-hour days, trying to get the studio ready, all that. A lot of things I never got caught up on. I'm Upset writes, thoughts on Alex Cross with Tyler Perry? Oh man, that movie's awful. And you know why I really feel bad about that? Because Tyler Perry was not but one of the first big stars who actually came into my studio. And he came into the studio for about an hour and talked about Alex Cross. And I hadn't seen the movie yet, I don't think. He was wonderful. Seriously, Tyler Perry was great. And I'm not just talking on camera. We were sitting around, we did the interview for about 15 minutes, but about 45 minutes we were just sitting around. And there were no cameras on, nothing. And he was delightful. Super nice guy. Really engaging, chatting and stuff like that. It was really a joy having him in studio. He was great. Oh God, that movie's awful though. It's a bad movie. It's a bad movie. By the way, check out Tyler Perry in Gone Girl. Gone Girl. He's great in Gone Girl. He plays like an attorney. He's awesome in it. Chris Warden writes, some other sites are reporting that Venom has a break-even point of $450 million. In my opinion, that seems a bit high considering its production budget was $116. Its official reported production budget was $100 million. $450 million is not the break-even point. It's lower than that. Even if you just go by the basic... Look, even if they spend $100 million on marketing on Venom, which I don't think they did, but even if, take a $100 million production budget and then $100 million marketing, that's $200 million. Right now, you've got a $400 million box office. Actually, I think today now it's gone up to like 460 something million. Anyway, minus 1/3 of that for what the theaters keep. And you're still talking about a movie that's profitable at 400 million. So no, I do not believe that 450 number is accurate. Not at all. I think at 400, they're already profitable. At 450, they're damn profitable. So no, I don't believe that at all. Chris Warden writes, judging by the comments Warner Brothers is making regarding the future of Affleck and Cavill in the DCU, either way, Warner Brothers definitely wants to stay in business with both of them. I don't think that's a definite. I think every comment we've heard coming out of Warner Brothers is just standard PR gibberish. Remember, they will say whatever to play the crowd and to try to mitigate damage. Remember they had Ben Affleck come out at Comic-Con last year going, yeah, I'm still Batman. I'm going to be Batman. No doubt I'm going to be Batman. It was all a lie. It was the right PR move to make, absolutely. And I don't blame them for that. Not at all. I don't blame them at all for that. But I would say this. I do think they want to stay in business with Affleck. They've just had too much success with Ben Affleck in all of his other movies. I mean, he won them an Academy Award he won them a Best Picture with Argo. So, I mean, and then he did a number of other films too. Like, I still think The Town is highly underrated. I think The Town is highly underrated. And then Gone Baby Gone. I mean, they've just had, and The Accountant, which I love, and they're still planning on doing The Accountant too. They've just had a lot of success with Ben Affleck. They want to be in business with him as a filmmaker and all that kind of stuff. So with Henry Cavill, though, I'm not so sure. All I know is this. I don't pay a lot of attention to what their official statements are because all they do is spin PR all the time. That's all Warner Brothers does. So I wouldn't read too much into it at this point, positively or negatively at this point. Let's see. Kyle Macero writes, Sisters Brothers box office, $1 million with a budget of $38 million. Yikes. Yeah, great movie, so says everybody. It did not get a big wide release, but it did open in about 1,000. It's in about 1,000 theaters now, which is not a big wide release, but it's still technically a wide release. But they have not marketed this film at all. As a matter of fact, I bet there are a bunch of you watching this video right now that I'm reading this, and it's not Sister Brothers, it's Sisters with an S. Sisters Brothers. I bet you don't even know what movie we're talking about. That's how little they marketed this movie. Jake Gyllenhaal, Joaquin Phoenix, Riz Ahmed, John C. Reilly. It's a great cast. It got great critic reviews at the festivals. It looks amazing. And they never gave it a wide release, and they certainly didn't give it any sort of a marketing campaign. There's nobody even heard of this film. So yeah, no surprise that it's only made about, I think in total it's made about $2 million. It's a huge money because they didn't even market the damn thing. Nobody even knows this movie exists. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to me how they've handled this film. Mike Hill writes, just saw an Aladdin spoiler in the form of a pop figure, Red Genie Jafar. I don't know how that's a spoiler. I mean, we know if you watch the animated film, you know Jafar turns into a red genie. So I'm not sure how that's a spoiler. Raymond Verada writes, how come no one complains when characters are changed like M and Q in the Bond films? What if there's a film where the 007 is passed on to somebody else? I don't think they will. And even if they did, I think that person would become known as Bond. I don't know. I'm just guessing here, of course. I think with M and Q, I mean, I believe Q died. Didn't the actor who played Q die? I was pretty sure he did. So they brought in the John Cleese, and then there was a new Q, and so nobody gets all that because they're secondary characters to James Bond. People don't get upset when they switch James Bonds either. I mean, people know, yeah, at some point, Daniel Craig has played Bond many times. It's time to move on. At some point, Pierce Brosnan played Bond many times. It was time to move on. So I've never gotten a lot of backlash whenever they've had to change James Bond actors. So I don't really think that's been an issue, Raymond. Lawrence writes, hate you give, Halloween, First Man, all to date. Wow, that's a good triple feature, man. That's a solid triple feature. You're going to be exhausted by the end of the day, but that's a solid triple feature, man. Good on you. Go out and check those films out. Christopher Benson writes, watched Upgrade with my wife a day after we watched Venom. Spent the first 30 minutes trying to convince her that Tom Hardy wasn't in both films. It is crazy because, like, I'm going to tell you, when I saw the first trailer for Upgrade, I remember just, Tom Hardy's in that. I mean, it is kind of unnerving, right? How much the dude does in certain shots and in certain lights and from certain angles, how crazy similar he looks like Tom Hardy. So I am not surprised, Christopher. I would love to have seen that conversation though. No, let's look. It says right here, look on the list of credits. You open up IMDb. That's not Tom Hardy. And the girlfriend going, no, that's Tom Hardy. Look, right here on IMDb, it says, see how it's not Tom Hardy? Yeah, I think it's wrong. I think that's Tom Hardy. Because you can understand why she would feel that way, right? Like I said, certain shots, certain camera angles, the dude looks uncanny like a Tom Hardy. Jeffrey Podolsky writes, Comixology versus Marvel Unlimited. Comics gives you the first volume / TPB. I'm not sure what that means. While the Marvel Universe, Marvel Unlimited gives you full library up to the last 6 weeks. Can't decide what's your opinion. I can only say I have used Comixology for a very long time. And I'm a big fan of Comixology. Look, I'm sure the DC one is very good. I'm sure the Marvel one is very good. I'm sure there are other ones out there that are very good. My real experience, though, has been very limited to Comixology, and I've always enjoyed it. I mean, the whole reason I got the tablet that I have a magnificent tablet, is because it just looks so great with Comixology. So all I can say is that I'm a big advocate of Comixology, but since I've never really used Marvel Unlimited that much, I really can't give an opinion as to which one I think is actually better. Okay, let's see. Jeremy Miner writes, don't waste Anne's permission. Bring us Thanos. So for the hot toy, Anne has given me permission to buy the Thanos toy, but I'm very, very cheap. So even though Anne has given me permission to buy the Thanos hot toy, I've been very hesitant to pull the trigger on it. Especially now with this new job I'm taking and moving the show into the studio, I'm taking some really huge financial risks. I'm taking some massive financial risks that may blow up in my face. It could totally blow up in my face. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Like 3 months from now, the John Campea show could go off the air because I simply won't have enough money to pay my internet bill. I'm not kidding you guys. I'm taking some major, major financial risk. I'm betting on myself right now. So I'm very hesitant to drop $350 on a toy. I really want it, but I don't know. I still may get it. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm torn. Michael Lozada writes, what makes A-List different from MoviePass? Will it last? Well, there's some major differences. First of all, A-List literally costs double. They charge you double from what MoviePass charges. Like literally double. That changes the game. Number two, it is a theater chain that oversees it. Number three, they benefit, AMC benefits financially from you even just coming to the theater because you buy more people come to the theater, buy more soda and more popcorn. That makes money for them. It is absolutely, and it was far more studied into. It is far, yes, it will last. Believe me, AMC was studying doing this A-List thing for at least 5 years. Because they were studying doing it when I was still with AMC. And they were still analyzing data and going. They took their time on this so much. They know exactly what they're getting into. And they know at the $20 price point, they will make money off this. And they're thrilled with the results they're getting so far. And so, yes, it absolutely will last. Robert Perez writes, hey, Courtney, nice to meet you. Hi, Ann. Of course, this is from the John Campea show the other day. I'm no Chuck Norris writes, will we ever see Tom Welling in the Arrowverse? It's possible. They could do a fun cameo. I mean, it won't be as Clark Kent, but you could absolutely have Tom Welling in there as a fun little cameo. Why not? Sure. I mean, in Smallville, you had cameos from other Superman actors throughout the years. Why couldn't you bring Tom Welling? I'd say yes. I'm going to guess at some point in the next couple of years, you'll see Tom Welling pop up in a cameo in a CW show. The Doctors, by the way, Tom Welling was great in the last season of Lucifer. He was a series regular last season in Lucifer, and he was great in it. I loved him in that. The Doctor 13's Blu-ray review writes, hey, John, big fan from Wales. Been watching Doctor Who. Jodie Whittaker is amazing. You should check it out. P.S. Congratulations on the new studio. Thank you so much, Doctor. And yeah, dude, I've had so many of you guys, because I don't watch Doctor Who. I've had so many of you guys writing me saying, this is now the time to jump on board with Doctor Who. Because the way they're handling it narratively, we've got a new doctor. They're doing it in such a way that you don't have to know anything about previous incarnations. You can just jump on board now and you will not be lost. And I've had so many people telling me it's really good. So yes, this is definitely one I'm going to get on board with, and I will check it out as soon as I got a little bit of time. But thank you so much for the recommendation, man. Ian J. Walker writes, yo, I love the new studio, always inspiring me. Well, thank you so much, Ian. I love the new studio too. I love it. It is the best studio environment I've ever been in. And I love the look of it. I love the feel of it. To me, it feels a lot more, I feel like I can be more personal and I can be more interactive because I have more than one camera. I feel like I can just be a little bit more at ease than here just in my one shot and I don't get me wrong, I love in my spare room here. I love my little studio I have in my spare room. But I so prefer the new studio, and thank you so much, man. We worked really hard at it. Aviator986 writes, peeps seem upset there's no super chat graphic. Yeah, so in the new studio, we did one episode so far. And normally when we do the super chats and we do the live questions, we have the questions up here on the side, right? Technically, we weren't ready to do that. That is coming, though. We are going to bring that and integrate that back into the show. Just give us a few days to get everything else worked out, and then we'll introduce that graphic back in. But it will be there. Thanks for bringing that up. FB Fitness writes, like the new studio. Thank you so much, FB Fitness. I appreciate that, man. He follows it up with, thoughts on Ozark on Netflix. First season was good. You know what, man? I've been asked about it a few times. I'm a big Jason Bateman fan. And I was very excited when I saw Ozark. I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it that much. Both me and Ann, we both didn't like it all that much. I ditched it around, I think, episode 5 or episode 6. I ditched on it, and I didn't get back on board. But hey, that's the great thing. I know a lot of people that really like it and really love it. It just didn't work for me, that's all. So I'm probably not going to get back on board with it, and I wish I liked it, but I just honestly, I didn't. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, because a lot of other people enjoy it too. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of the companion videos. Don't forget, guys, as we're doing the John Campea Show through the week, whenever we have leftover questions, they will get addressed on companion videos moving forward. I'm going to do companion videos from here in my home studio to make sure we're all caught up. And if you're watching this on Sunday, we actually have an open mic a little bit later this afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Keep your eyes open for that. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thanks so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.